Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for today's drawing I'm going to be doing a mermaid. She's a mermaid princess and this is actually going to be the first in a series of at least two. So I hope you'll enjoy it. As usual, I'm going to start with the character skin tone. I was able to recently get a new Copic marker. It's the color blush, and I've been really loving that to kind of add some color and health to the skin beyond just the usual colors that I use. So what I started to do is I apply it to her lips and to her cheekbones, or right underneath her eyes, and then I blend it out very well using a combination of a colorless blender and my lightest skin tone I use. This helps to add a more healthy appearance to the character. Next, I started to work on her crown, which actually brings me to an important tip. So when you're working with Copic markers, you might be able to layer them twice and get them a bit darker, the same color, but the best way to actually provide depth and create depth using Copic markers is to layer several in the same color family and even some outside of the same color family. So I was making her crown, so I used Leonette Gold as some of the darkest shades. But to go inside to make it look very three-dimensional and shiny, I added cashmere as a kind of transition tone, and then my lightest yellow, which I actually forget which color that one is. So, and then I kind of blend all those together. That way you have a nice three-dimensional feel to your character. So as you may have noticed, the line work on this drawing is actually pretty sparse, and there was a reason for that. I wanted the character herself to be kind of pastel and soft looking, so I didn't want to add too many details which would actually begin to distract away from the character herself. That means you have to add different colors in order to indicate pattern. So I used different colors and different shades of colors to indicate the pattern of, for instance, the scales on her tail. So what I did is I used a very, very light pink. I did not use my blush. I actually used the blush on her fins itself, since I wanted those to be transparent. But I used I think it was peony pink. So I used that to indicate a very, very light cross-hatching to indicate scales. And then I went through and blended all of that out with a colorless blender to make it even lighter. And then I went in and added slightly darker shades to show shadows, and I blended those out too. That way she still has a three-dimensional look, just a very, very soft look. I also continued this kind of technique when I went in to put the coral on the base, because I wanted that to also not have very much lines, not to be too distracting and too overt. So I decided to kind of freehand all that. So if you would like to put line work in for that, you can, but I found it easier just to kind of freehand it so I could kind of use reference photos and do what I thought really made the picture look kind of soft and gentle and pastel. As you can see at this point, some of the details are still a little loose and kind of fuzzy looking, but that's okay because we're going to go in afterwards and add final detailing. So it's important, especially when you're working with light colors like this, to gradually increase how dark you're working. So as you can see, everything's still quite light. I will darken this after I've applied the background. I wanted the main character and everything around her to be very, very light, and the sea in the background is actually going to be a dark blue. So gradually working up how dark you make the colors will actually prevent it from getting too dark in the foreground. To draw the sea, I went through and blended ice blue and Prussian blue together. I really liked how it created a nice transition. So it created the essence of her being underwater and actually fairly deep underwater too. Always remember that when you're blending, go back over it several times with your colors that you're trying to blend together, especially when you're trying to blend two rather different colors. That will allow them to bleed together and create a nice transition effect. Finally, I went back through and tightened my lines. Since I now could see a lot of the coral area, since it was nice and dark back there now, I went through and created depth and some texture into areas that I knew I wanted texture in. And then I went through and added bubbles and a bubble effect because I think mermaids need bubbles. And then I added more detailing to the treasure chest that sits at her feet. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye!